Thank you all so much for coming. This is a really awesome time of year. I'm Catherine McDonald, for those who don't know me, and I am so excited today to have Christina Whitehouse from Bike Lane Uprising. Christina and I met virtually like 6 years ago, but this is our first time meeting in person, and I'm so happy. I lived in Chicago between 2006 and 2011. And it was the first time that I kind of learned how to ride in the city and started bike commuting. So I had a great little commute. I would bike from our apartment to the train, and then take the train up to the hospital after my internship. And I think it's still my favorite commute I've ever had. It was like the first time I didn't have to rely on a car, and I kind of learned about the joy and the freedom of being able to take my bike and rely on great public transit to get around. Hopefully Nashville can take something away from that this November, and we can actually get some funding for transit. Chicago has a lot of the same problems with bike infrastructure as Nashville does. This is Milwaukee Avenue in Chicago. It was kind of a main thoroughfare when I lived in Bucktown. I really don't even know how I biked there at the time. I probably do now. But it's like kind of a combination of like sharrows and these like painted doors and bike lanes. Yeah, the whole way. But I got really good at dodging cars and bike lanes, so I guess that prepared me well for commuting in Nashville. So when I moved to Nashville about 10 years ago, decided I was going to commute by bike. So I live over here in East Nashville, commute to Vanderbilt every day. And I think most people in the room here probably have an album on their phone of pictures just like these. I don't know what your ride looks like. More cops no matter where you ride in Nashville. So these are all taken on a street called Demonbreun Street. This kind of makes up the majority of my route to work. And I moved here as, idealistic young person. I was like, you know what, this is a problem. We should fix this. So I started reaching out to what was at the time Vector Public Works, and I was like, y'all, people are parking in bike lanes a lot. And they were like, okay, just call that non-emergency number whenever you see a car parked in a bike lane. And I was like, okay, but you're like, neither one of us is going to get anything else done if I do that. Like, this is a constant problem that is not a isolated incident. This is happening all the time. So I tried it for a while. I would stop during my commute, call the number, be on hold for 5 minutes. The driver's yelling at me by that point, taking pictures of the car. They would put in a request, and then they might send someone out 2 hours, 2 days later. The car's gone, they don't do anything. Same thing with Hub. I think Hub was starting around this time as well. So you put in a Hub request, same thing happens. If they do anything about it, it's hours or days later, and they just end up closing it. And that data goes nowhere, and so no one actually knows or cares that you spend all this time reporting these things. So I tried that for a while, but being from a scientific background, I was like, we need to get some data. Like, no one else believes this is a problem. So we got to actually do something with this data. So I started a spreadsheet. And I started writing down every single car in the bike lane on my commute, with the location, the description, the license plate. And I started, trying to figure out, how do I show people this is a problem? And what I didn't know is that someone in Chicago around the same time was doing the exact same thing, but she was doing it a whole lot better than I was. So I don't even remember really how I came across the Bike Lane Uprising website. I was thinking about bike lane obstructions on a Sunday morning like to do. And I came across their website and I texted Sadie, who's my commuting buddy. And I was like, Sadie, this is what we need. This is exactly what we need. And I think they were only available in a couple of cities at that point. They were in Chicago and maybe DC. This is 2018, so 6 years ago. But I reached out to Christina and I was like, can we get a page for Nashville? And she was like, sure. So we got a page set up. There wasn't even an app at this point. It was just a website. So I would take a picture, come home, log into the website, and then upload it. But I started doing that, Sadie started doing that, a couple of people in this room probably started doing that, and we started to get some data. And so what the data confirmed.
That is an old map. Oh my gosh.
So what it showed was that, finally this story kind of started to come together. So way better than my Excel spreadsheet, you can look at this map and you can see that Demonbreun Hill is a shit show. Couldn't have told you that, but until we were able to kind of show it graphically, no one really paid attention. So we started meeting with the police, we started meeting with council people, we started meeting with NDOT, and I'm showing them these maps and showing them these data. But it was still, a really slow process, and still, like, commuting through here every day was really dangerous, and things still just weren't moving fast enough. So, unfortunately, a lot of the time in this area, it takes bad things happening to get the gain traction. So I finally got hit on Demonbreun at Demonbreun and 14th. At this intersection was awful. Everyone knew it was awful. A little while later, a young man riding a scooter got killed at the same intersection. So we were like, this is not happening fast enough. So we started holding protests. We got on the news. We started a petition. We did some tactical urbanism. And we started to get momentum.
Short people rope.
So finally, after 8 years of advocacy, we broke ground on a new protected bikeway on Demonbreun Hill last night. And it is completely absurd that it took this long, and that it took this much work to get concrete on 2 blocks of the street. I'm fully aware of that. It is ridiculous. But I think we learned a lot of good lessons during this process. I think Nashville is also in a very different place than it was 8 years ago. We have some really amazing people at NDOT that actually care about this stuff, understand this stuff. We have some great people on council. We have some people in the mayor's office that actually will take leadership on pushing these projects through. So I think hopefully next time it won't be much of an uphill battle. But we were only able to get here because we could show this was a problem. So I think that's where a lot of this has to start, is with people just saying, y'all, this is a problem, we need to do something. So the good news is, Nashville still, this is Demonbreun now. So we got concrete. This is from this week. So it's happening as we speak. And Nashville still has a Bike Lane Uprising page. I will let Christina tell you guys a lot more about this kind of data that we're able to collect now. But we have over 300, I think, obstructions reported so far. That is a drop in the bucket of what's happening out there, I don't know. But I think no one else in Nashville is getting this kind of data. We can talk more at the end about, what's the reasoning behind reporting to Bike Lane Uprising versus Hub, and kind of maybe what types of violations might go better in one or the other. But I think the key is, no one else is doing this kind of data. No one else is able to produce maps like this, get details on the types of vehicles that are blocking bike lanes, and the companies that are doing it, and getting this level of detail. So I think that we can talk more about kind of how we can use this in Nashville going forward. But I think this is a really awesome resource that we now have that we can use. So with that, I want to introduce Christina. Christina is a badass who also saw a problem, but instead of making a spreadsheet to fix it, she basically launched an entire nationwide movement to fix it. She was named Chicagoan of the Year. She was named one of the 50 most influential people in cycling. And she's really awesome, and we're so glad to have her. So, Christina.